Icelocked here with Nocturne Gaming, back with more Legends of Eidolon, and today we're taking a look at the Barbarian talent build. A quick note before we get started, this is a higher level character, so I may have more talent points than you do at this point. However, this guide is more about the priority of your talents more than completing the full build that I have. With that being said, let's get started on tab 1. And your first priority should be Gilded Sword, as this gives you a % to boost all damage to monsters. And so we want to max this out as soon as possible. Your second priority should be Sharpened Axe, as this gives you a base increase to weapon power, which is one of the most important stats we have. After that, you want at least 50 points into Idle Brawling. The reason we want 50 points here is the diminishing return starts massively affecting this after this 10% bonus here, and you'll only get to about 17% with 100 points in this. So it's better to spend your points in other places until you have enough spare talent points. Your next priority should be Meat Shank, as this can give you another damage increase based on your max HP, and we want to max that out as early as possible. After that will be Health Booster, so we can benefit more from that Meat Shank. And then your next priority should be putting points into Fist of Rage. We will have to come back to this a little later due to some talents in tab 3, but for now we do want to put some points in there. There's a couple things to mention on this page before we move on. First is your Book of the Wise is huge for increasing your accuracy on your character. Your top priority on your character should always be to have 100% accuracy. So check your player stats right here and make sure you have enough accuracy to continue fighting the monsters that you're on and maybe the next 1 or 2 maps that you'll get to. But for now, let's move on to tab 2, and our priority here gets a little weird. So I want to talk about your active skills for a minute here. And there is a multiplier that's hidden from us that allows our active skills to increase our kills per hour while you're offline. So we do want to have enough points in our active skills to max that out. And that's roughly 2.2 times more kills per hour by having enough points in these skills. The easy way to do this is to have 25 points in these active skills here. And then I usually like to increase this one to 45 points or so, as this gets me at least 50% chance to hit twice. After that, we go back to our priority of our skills. And your first priority should always be Carry a Big Stick, as this gives you one of the largest boosts to your damage by affecting your weapon power. After that, your next priority should be going into Strength and Numbers, as this really gives you a large boost to your damage from your Meat Shank as well as your other sources of strength. So we'll have as many points as we can in there. After that, it should be Health Overdrive to get more out of Meat Shank. And then from here, it starts getting a little tricky again. You want to always have 1 point into Firmly Grasp It. This is an active skill, and it gives you basically 15 more strength for having 1 point in here. Every level after the 1 point only gives you 1 additional strength, which is about the same that you get from Absolute Unit. So these two have equal priority now. Strength Tested Garb here is a large bonus to your strength as well, but this really depends on how much base strength you have. So the more strength you have in your equipment, the more that it gives. We do have enough talent points, so we do want to max out both of these, and that will allow us to have as much strength as possible. If you have spare talent points at this point, go ahead and fill up Firmly Grasp It for another boost to your strength. The last thing that I want to mention on tab 2 is that if you're using the golden kebabs or other golden foods, using Hungry for Gold here is a way to boost your gains by a little bit. However, it's pretty marginal, so you do need quite a few points before it's really worth investing into this. So we're moving on to tab 3 now, and again, your priority here is a little weird, as you always want to make sure you have at least 25 points into your Bear Swipe and Axe Hurl, as this can affect your kills per hour. But from there, we want to start with our priority, and it should be No Pain, No Gain first, as this is the largest boost that a Barbarian can get from a single talent. After that, your next priority should be Strength some more, and this will allow you to put more talent points into Fist of Rage back on tab 1. This is why we saved some of our points, and so we now have that maxed out. And the Apocalypse Zao is another way that we can get a large boost to our damage. However, there's breakpoints in this skill. So if you add these skills up to the breakpoint, every time you get to a breakpoint, you'll increase this percentage damage for every monster you have at least 100,000 kills on. So currently I have 50 monsters that have the apocalypse caused, and that means with just the 4% bonus, I'm getting 200% more damage from this. But you want to stop at your breakpoint. So the easiest breakpoint is at 132 talent points, and if you see right now we're at 5% damage. When we add 2 more points, we should go up to 6%. The next breakpoint after this is at 165 talent points. So the only way to get this is by having a maxed talent library and then also having the Blood Berserker class unlocked, as there's ways to increase your talent points a little bit more with that. But back to our priority, and the next priority should be going into either the back to the basics if you need additional talent points in tab 2, which is always good to help increase your active skills. So we'll put some points into here. And then after this, it becomes a lot more about what your choices are. We're going to go ahead and add our 25 points that we need here. And your next priority should be choosing either if you want additional multi-kill to open portals or increasing your death note, or if you want a slight damage increase from your strongest statues or fistful of obols. These two will give different results depending on how good your obols or your statues are. But my biggest priority has been to get my death note up lately, so we're going to go ahead and put points into Monster Decimator. And then anything left over I have, I can choose to put into like my obols, for example, and then a little bit into the statues from this. The last thing that I do want to mention is to have, if you have enough points and you want to level up the crit kill talent in tab 1, this is a great way to get additional critical damage. Looking at the critical kill talent, it increases your crit hit damage based on the number of points you have. So you do need to have enough talent points overall to be able to make that worth it. But back on tab 1, since we added points into strength some more, we can add another 127 points into Fist of Rage to help boost our strength a little bit more. From here, I do want to go ahead and max out my Book of the Wise for a little bit more accuracy, and then I like having the movement speed. And lastly, if you have enough points left over, throw them into your Lucky Clover to get that extra drop rate for your character. So the last section that I want to go over is your star talents, as there is a little bit of a priority here. And the first thing that I would always do is to add points into the Will of the Eldest and the beginner best class as fast as you can, depending on what your highest level is. So my highest classes are just under 200 right now, so we want about 20 points into each of these, as it'll allow us to get the maximum bonus for my current character levels. If your characters are lower, don't put as many points in here, as it won't be effective. The next big priority on this page is putting points into TikTok, as this gives you more AFK gain rate, and this is quite a large bonus. The next things are attacks on Simmer, as this can give you more kills when you're AFK. And hemoglobin is a very big talent increase to help your survivability. So we'll put points in there. And on to tab 2 here, there's a few things that are very useful, such as the Dungeonic damage, and this gives you more damage based on how many dungeon credits you've earned. So the more you do the dungeon, the more effective this talent is. After that, your next priority should be putting points into Frothy Mock to get more bonuses from your foods. And from there, you do want points into Telekinetic Storage, as this can increase your carry capacity, and then at least 1 point into your sampling and your shrine, so you can place down your shrines. After this, everything becomes a lot more optional. There is one talent that I am close to unlocking, but I haven't got yet, and this is your Crit Overkill, and this will allow you to gain more critical chance and more crit damage if you have this unlocked and have the spare talent points. The other ones to mention are the Just XP here, as this can give you more class XP as you're leveling up. And on tab 1, there is Quest Chungus that can give you more luck based on how many quests you've completed. I've completed about 150 quests, so we do want to put points in here until it gets above that number of the quest you've completed, which you can check by going into your codex and into your quest log. If you scroll down, your completed quest should be right here. But back into our talents, there's a few other things that are useful, such as pulsation, which can help your mana regeneration if you're actively playing. And there's also the cardiovascular to get more cards. So that's pretty much it for your talents. There is a couple things that I do want to remind you before we're done, and that's to make sure you assign your attacks that you put points into, as this can help really increase your gains overall. And just make sure you have each of these abilities assigned to your attack bar, and this will allow them to be used while you're offline. The other things to mention is that when you're leveling up your gear and other things, that you really want to prioritize weapon damage. And then after that, you want to always make sure you always have enough accuracy and then enough strength to help keep increasing your damage. Movement speed and crit chance are nice benefits if you have enough excess, but if not, I would put those on a lower priority. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying this type of content, and a huge shout out to our Patreon members that support the work we do. Thank you from all of us here at Nocturne Gaming. If you would like to become a patron and get some added benefits, check out the link in the description. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please leave them down below for me, and we'll see you next time.